12 diss tracks.
Boys ran to the latest jam, but when it got shot up, they went home and said, damn.
12 moments where somebody picked up the mic and made sure the target never forgot it. You think you know these records, the bars, the beefs, the fallout, but what you might not know is the story behind the song. Who was really in the room, what was actually at stake, and why some of these tracks didn't just end careers, they changed the culture itself. From a 14-year-old girl in Queensbridge to the shot heard round the rap world. This is the top 12 best diss tracks of all time with the lyrics that prove why they hit the way they did. Number 12, Roxanne Shanté, Roxanne's Revenge, 1984. Before we get anywhere else on this list, we need to start here, because without this record, none of the rest of them exist. Queensbridge, New York. A group called UTFO drops a track called Roxanne. Roxanne, a song about a fictional girl who won't give them the time of day. It's a hit. It's getting spun on Rap Attack, New York's hottest radio show. But here's the thing, UTFO cancels a show that Marley Marl and Mr. Magic were promoting. They just don't show up. And Marley Marl is standing outside his building, venting. And this 14-year-old girl from the Queensbridge projects Lolita Gooden walks up and says, "Why don't you let me make a tape dissing them?" They tell her to go away. She doesn't. And a few weeks before her 15th birthday, she walks into Marley Marl's apartment, puts on the headphones, and freestyles off the top what becomes Roxanne's Revenge. 7 minutes, one take, entirely improvised. Marley Marl pressed up 100 copies and got them on the street by the end of the day. But here's what's wild about this, and I need you to really sit with this. That first 100 copies turned into 250,000 sold in the New York area alone. Just New York. No major label, no radio campaign, streets only. She tore into every member of UTFO, their flow, their looks, their rhymes, and she did it as a teenager who had never even been in a recording studio before that day. The bars weren't just a response, they were a declaration. I'm the real Roxanne, and I'll break you down. Hip-hop had battles before 1984, but we'd never seen beef played out on wax like this. The diss track as a format, the counter-record, the answer song, the lyrical war that lives in the grooves that's born right here. In a housing project, by a kid who wasn't supposed to be in the room, Roxanne Shanté, the one who started it all. Number 11, KRS-One, South Bronx, 1986. This one isn't just a diss. It's an argument about who owns the culture. MC Shan and Marley Marl dropped The Bridge, a record celebrating Queensbridge, suggesting that hip-hop had its roots there. It's not a direct diss at anyone. I am a teacher and others are kings. But KRS-One and Boogie Down Productions hear something different. They hear someone trying to claim the birthright of an entire genre. And if you know your hip-hop history, you already know that's not something you do without getting checked. KRS had his own personal reasons too. He and his partner DJ Scott LaRock had earlier approached Mr. Magic's show with a demo and got dismissed, insulted. So when The Bridge starts getting played, KRS isn't just defending the Bronx. He's settling a score. South Bronx comes back at MC Shan with bars like, "So you think that hip-hop had its start out in Queensbridge? If you pop that junk in the Bronx, you might not live." Cool DJ Red Alert premiered it and reportedly spun it 3 times in a row because the crowd went crazy. Money folder. You want a fresh style? Let me show you. on first listen. But here's where the story gets complicated, and this part still doesn't sit right with me. Within a year of this track, DJ Scott LaRock is shot and killed trying to break up a dispute in the Bronx. KRS-One loses his best friend, his partner, and there are diss tracks happening around them, and none of it means anything anymore. He starts to stop the violence movement. He redirects his whole career, and South Bronx became a monument to what hip-hop beef can be. Lyrical, territorial, righteous before it ever became what it later turned into. KRS set the template. The Bronx versus Queensbridge, art versus ego, the pen as a weapon. None of it would exist without this record. If you made it this far, you already know. You're not here for the algorithm highlights and TikTok clips. You're here for the real story. Here's what's crazy. 96% of people watching right now won't subscribe. They'll get the knowledge, then YouTube will bury us in their feed forever, which means when we drop that upcoming video, you'll never see it. Look, hip-hop radio ain't for everybody, but if you're still here, it's definitely for you. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next chapter. Real recognize real. Number 10, LL Cool J, Jack the Ripper, 1988. This is for the people who want to act like this culture didn't have its own history before the coasts went to war. You probably know LL Cool J as the legend, the Kango, the ladies' man, the guy who never fell off. But in 1988, he was a young kid from Queens in the middle of one of the most underrated beefs in hip-hop history, and he was getting pressed by somebody who had serious lyrical credentials. Kool Moe Dee came first. His 1987 album cover said everything. He's standing in front of a Jeep, and there's a red Kangol hat crushed under the tire. LL's signature. The disc was visual before the music even played. His track, How Y'all Like Me Now, went directly at James Todd Smith. You should have stayed out of the business. What is this, amateur night at the Apollo? And he wasn't wrong to swing. Kool Moe Dee was one of the most technically gifted MCs alive at that point. Former member of the Treacherous Three, a man who had been rocking crowds since 1976. But LL responded in 1988 with Jack the Ripper, a B-side off going back to Cali, and he came back vicious, calling Mo washed up, calling him a punk. Doing it over a beat that hit different than anything Mo was rapping over at the time. Now here's the thing about this battle that gets debated to this day, and I'm not sure there's a clean answer. A lot of people who were there say Mo won the lyrical exchange. Superior wordplay, more precise. I got the power, But LL won the war commercially, culturally, and legacy. And if you've ever watched someone win on paper and lose in real life, you know that's just a different kind of pain. Mama said knock you out eventually silenced everything. But Jack the Ripper was the shot that kept the beef alive long enough to matter. Number 9, Common, The Bitch in You, 1996. Let me tell you, this is the one that doesn't get talked about enough. The East Coast-West Coast war is at full temperature. Everyone's picking sides. And here comes Common, the conscious rapper from the south side of Chicago. Stepping directly to Ice Cube, produced by Pete Rock. Now how did this start? It goes back to Common's 1994 record, I Used to Love Her, a metaphor for the soul of hip-hop being corrupted. Cube and West Side Connection took offense. They thought it was a shot at the West Coast. They got on BET's Rap City and talked reckless, called Common out, in front of everybody. And Common, who never wanted to be a beef rapper, who was working with no ID, on introspective music, who had a whole lane that had nothing to do with any of this, had to make a decision. No ID reportedly didn't even want to make the beat. He didn't want to be pulled into it. So Common called Pete Rock, and Pete Rock, who was Ice Cube's friend, made the beat anyway. Ice Cube found out later and was genuinely upset. Pete Rock saw Cube after the record dropped, and Cube just said, "You good, bro, you good," because that's how hard the track was. Cube couldn't even stay mad. He said Cube hadn't made anything great since 1990, and at the time, a lot of people agreed. And whether that was fair or not, you probably know which side you're on. The beef got so close to spilling over into something physical that it eventually took Minister Farrakhan sitting down with both of them, along with Snoop, Bone Thugs, Chuck D, to broker peace. When you need Minister Farrakhan to mediate, it wasn't just about a song anymore. Number 8, 50 Cent, How to Rob, 1999. This is the one where a kid with nothing decided to come after everybody with everything. August 10, 1999. 50 Cent at this point, just a kid from South Jamaica, Queens, signed to Columbia but getting nowhere drops. How to Rob as the lead single for an album Columbia would eventually shelve. The song is exactly what it sounds like. He raps about how he would hypothetically rob every major artist in the game. Jay-Z, DMX, Mariah Carey, Missy Elliott, Puff Daddy, everybody. Now here's where it gets interesting. He wasn't making this record out of malice. He said it himself, he was broke. He was watching people with chains and cars, and he wrote the one thing he knew would get people talking. He called it an outsider's desperate attempt to fit in. It worked immediately. The entire industry reacted. Big Pun, who was months away from dying, recorded a response that called 50 out directly. Sticky Fingers responded. And Jay-Z went to Summer Jam 1999 and rapped, "I'm about $1, what the fuck is 50 cent?" in front of thousands of people. Jay told 50 backstage that he actually loved the record, then walked out on that stage and dissed him anyway. And if you were the kind of person who had the radio on in 1999, you remember the electricity around this song. You didn't know if this kid was brave or crazy. Turns out he was both. A year later, he shot 9 times outside his grandmother's house. Columbia drops him. But How to Rob becomes the business card that eventually lands in front of Eminem and Dr. Dre. And the rest of that story you already know. How to Rob didn't just diss people. It announced a career. It made a name by targeting names. And in 1999, that wasn't something you were supposed to be able to do. Number 7, Eminem, Kill Shot, 2018. I want to be clear about why this one is on this list. Not just because of who threw the punch, but because of what the punch did when it landed. Eminem drops Kamikaze as a surprise album. On a track called Not Alike with Royce da 5'9", he takes a shot at Machine Gun Kelly. MGK responds with Rap Devil, a track that actually gets some traction. People are debating it. Some are saying Kelly held his own. And Eminem, who is 45 years old at this point, goes into the studio and records Kill Shot in what felt like no time at all. Released September 14, 2018. In the first 24 hours, it gets over 38 million views on YouTube. That becomes the biggest hip-hop debut in YouTube history at that point. The song debuts at number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100, and the bars are not gentle. How you gonna name yourself after a damn gun and have a man bun? I'm 45 and I'm still outselling you. By 29, I had 3 albums that it blew. And then the line that shut the whole conversation down. Kills, the day you put out a hit's the day Diddy admits that he put the hit out that got Pac killed.
Was watching 8 Mile, I'm on auto track. Realized I forgot the chord.
Wait, did he just in the middle of dissing MGK drop a Tupac conspiracy in the same breath? Yes, he did. And nobody could talk about anything else. MGK was signed to Bad Boy. Eminem tied the label, the murder allegation, and the diss into a single sentence.
Till I'm hitting old age, still can fill a whole page with a 10-year-old's rage.
Whether you agree with the claim or not, that's surgical. That's a rapper who has been doing this longer than most and still understands exactly where to put the knife. Number 6, Pusha T, The Story of Adidon, 2018. This is the one that proves a diss track can be a weapon of mass destruction when the intel is right. May 29, 2018, Pusha T drops The Story of Adidon on SoundCloud. No video, no rollout, just the record. 3 minutes and 9 seconds, produced by N.W.A.
You don't really want it with 'em. Surgical Summer Volume 1.
Rapping over the instrumental from Jay-Z's The Story of O.J. Drake had responded to Pusha's earlier shots with W Freestyle, and most people thought he'd won that exchange, and then Pusha dropped this. The song reveals that Drake has a secret son named Adonis, with details about who the mother is, how old the child is, how long Drake had been hiding him. Drake had shared a photo of Adonis with Kanye West during a private session in Wyoming, trusting him as a friend. Pusha T says the information came through 40, Drake's producer, whose girlfriend had overheard conversations. Drake eventually blamed Kanye. Kanye denied it. The truth of exactly who leaked what is still debated. But here's what isn't debated. Drake never responded, not once. He confirmed Adonis existed on his Scorpion album a month later, and in 2019 he publicly conceded he lost this beef. Pusha didn't just diss Drake. He had intelligence, he had receipts, and he delivered them on a Jay-Z instrumental, which itself was a signal to the whole industry about who he was aligned with and who he wasn't. The cover art was a photo of Drake in blackface. Every layer of this thing was designed to inflict maximum damage. Drug dealing aside, goose right in the side. Let's have a heart. This is what happens when a diss track is less about bars and more about information. The pen is dangerous, but the truth is devastating. Let me keep with the facts. You are hiding a child. Let that boy come home. Dead. Number 5, Ice Cube, No Vaseline, 1991. Ice Cube himself will tell you this is the best diss track ever made. He said it publicly, ranking it above Hit 'Em Up, above Ether, above everything. And when you understand what was behind it, it's hard to argue. Cube is 2 albums deep into his solo career after leaving N.W.A. in December 1989. Why did he leave? Royalties. He wrote most of Straight Outta Compton, including the rhymes for Eazy-E, and never got properly paid. Damn, I'm glad y'all set it off. Used to be hard, now you just went soft. His lawyer, who later turned out to be working in conjunction with N.W.A.'s manager Jerry Heller, had not adequately represented him. He walked, but N.W.A. didn't let him walk in silence. On their 1990 EP 100 Miles and Running and their 1991 album Niggas for Life, they came at Cube hard, called him out by name, questioned his departure, questioned his manhood. So on Death Certificate, released October 29, 1991, the last track, track 20, is No Vaseline, produced by Cube and Sir Jinx. And for 5 minutes and 13 seconds, he doesn't come up for air. He exposes the financial exploitation. He accuses Jerry Heller of running a divide and conquer strategy on the group. He reminds Eazy-E that Cube wrote his rhymes. He calls out Dr. Dre. He names every single member. And he delivers what may be the most precisely calculated destruction of a group from the inside that hip-hop has ever heard. The UK release of Death Certificate literally removed this song, took it off the album entirely. That's how vicious it was.
one does get fucked with no Vaseline.
And here's the detail that still gets me. When Sir Jinx told the story later, he said the beat for No Vaseline had actually existed since before America's Most Wanted. They just hadn't used it. They were waiting. They didn't know what they were waiting for. And then N.W.A. kept pushing, and suddenly they knew. Some people build a diss track in rage. Ice Cube built this one in cold, deliberate precision, and the culture has never fully recovered from it. Number 4, Jay-Z Takeover 2001. This is the record that asked one question out loud, a question the entire hip-hop world had been whispering for years, and nearly ended a man's career before he could answer it. September 11, 2001, Jay-Z releases The Blueprint, Track 2, Takeover, produced by a then unknown Chicago producer named Kanye West, who sampled The Doors' 5 to 1 and KRS-One's Sound of the Police. But the song isn't really new at this point. Jay debuted it months earlier at Hot 97 Summer Jam 2001. And what he did at that concert, I need you to picture this if you were there. He performs Takeover a cappella, and as he reaches the line, "When I was pushing weight back in '88, you was a ballerina." I got the pictures, I seen you the Jumbotron at Nassau Coliseum, lights up with childhood photos of Prodigy, from Mobb Deep, in dance clothes, from his grandmother's dance school. Prodigy, one of the hardest MCs to ever live, the voice of Shook Ones, up on the screen as a little kid in a leotard. The crowd went into a frenzy. Prodigy was there. He watched it happen. And then the third verse goes after Nas. You had one hot album every 10-year average. He calls Nas a has-been, questions his catalog, his credibility, his claim to New York's throne. At that moment in 2001, Nas's career genuinely looked like it was over. His previous 2 albums hadn't done what Illmatic or It Was Written had done. Critics were already writing the obituary. Takeover felt like the official ceremony. But here's the thing about burying someone who isn't dead. They come back with a shovel. Number 3, Nas Ether, 2001. Everything I just told you about Takeover, this is the reason that story isn't over. December 4, 2001, Jay-Z's 32nd birthday. Jay and Dame Dash are at a New York City club. A DJ starts playing a new record. Jay tells him to stop. Dame tells him to stop. The DJ looks at him and plays it anyway. The club goes up. That record is Ether, produced by Ron Browse on Nas's Stillmatic album. And Ross Cass, who was in that club, said he knew it was over the moment the room erupted. The club was going up, and that's when I knew. Nas named the track because of something he'd been told. Ghosts and spirits don't like the fumes from ether. He wanted to affect Jay with his weapon and get to his soul. And he did. He questioned Jay's credibility. He called out Hogg's relationship with Foxy Brown. He pointed out that Eminem outshined Jay on his own song Renegade. He said Jay stole his rhyming style from Biggie. He went after everything, the persona, the business, the legend. He spent 69 more bars on Jay than Jay spent on him in Takeover. Jay eventually responded with Super Ugly, which he recorded in 24 hours, and which Jay-Z's own mother reportedly called him and told him to apologize for. Jay apologized publicly. That almost never happened. Nas had to wait 3 months after Takeover before he answered. People were questioning whether he could even respond, whether the career was salvageable, and what he came back with didn't just salvage his career, it gave him the crown. Stillmatic is considered his comeback. God's Son follows.
Seem to be only concerned with dissing women, where you abused as a child, scared to smile.
And to this day, Jay-Z has quietly accepted that he lost this battle. You know what etherized means in hip-hop now? That someone took a record and a reputation and dissolved it. Nas made that word with this track.
Name your company after, put it together. I rock hoes, y'all rock fellas.
Number 2, the Notorious B.I.G. who shot Ya in 1995. This is the one that started a war neither man would survive. Early 1995, Biggie drops Who Shot Ya as a B-side to Big Papa. He insists to this day through interviews, through people close to him, that the record was recorded before Tupac got shot in the lobby of Quad Studios in November 1994. That it had nothing to do with Pac, that it was just a warning shot aimed at unnamed enemies. Tupac heard it differently. He was recovering from 5 gunshot wounds. He had accused Biggie and Puff of knowing about the Quad Studio attack. And then this record drops. And he heard Who Shot Ya as Biggie talking to him, mocking him, telling the streets that Biggie knew who did it. Biggie told Vibe magazine, I wrote that motherfucking song way before Tupac got shot. And whether that's true, the record burned into Tupac's chest like something personal. He heard it as a taunt from a man he'd once called a brother. Someone who used to crash on his couch. Someone he'd broken bread with. And if you've ever felt genuinely betrayed by someone you trusted, not just let down, but deliberately stabbed, you understand why Pac couldn't shake it. Because a betrayal from a friend doesn't feel like a loss. It feels like a death. Who Shot Ya may not have been intended as a diss, but it functioned as one, and its consequences were real and permanent and tragic. Both men are gone. Both murders remain unsolved. And this record, 3 minutes, that Biggie says weren't even about what we think they were about, still echoes across every conversation about how dangerous rap beef can become when it moves off the record and into the streets. Number 1, Tupac, Hit 'Em Up, 1996. You probably knew this was coming, but knowing doesn't prepare you for what this record actually is. June 4, 1996. B-side to How Do You Want It, produced by Johnny J. Recorded April 19, 1996 at Can-Am Studios in Tarzana, Los Angeles. Tupac opens the track by claiming he slept with Faith Evans, Biggie's wife. Not implied, not suggested, stated in the first verse. From there, he doesn't slow down. He goes after Biggie Bad Boy, Puff Daddy, Junior Mafia, Lil Kim, Mobb Deep, Chino XL, and entire coast. The Outlaws join in. And toward the end of the record, Pac targets prodigy of Mobb Deep directly. He calls out a medical condition by name in a diss record. Johnny J confirmed before his death that Pac's rage on this track was completely genuine. This wasn't performance. This was a man who believed and would go to his grave believing that people he called friends had set him up to die. And he made a record out of that grief and that fury. Prodigy later told Vibe, I never had any beef with Tupac. I never said his name. So that shit just hurt. And Mobb Deep responded with Drop a Gem on him. But Pac was murdered in September 1996 before that cycle could fully play out. Biggie never recorded an official response. Both men's deaths remain unsolved. Hit 'Em Up is the standard, not because it's the most clever. Not because it has the most wordplay, but because it is the most honest piece of rage ever committed to tape in hip-hop history. You hear a man who has genuinely decided, I have nothing to lose, and those are the most dangerous people in any room. And here's what I think about every time I hear it. The music video was filmed the day before it was released, June 3rd, 1996. 3 months later, he was gone. This is what raw, unfiltered conviction sounds like. And nothing not before, not since, has ever sounded quite like this.